I can understand how you guys feel. It's the worst possible feeling. It's confusion, it's anger, it's just an overall brokenness.
Blake Shelton may look like country music's happiest star, but behind the laughter is a devastating secret. From unimaginable childhood lost to marriages that crumbled under fame's pressure, his journey is far darker than fans ever imagined. How did success become the very curse that haunts him? And what hidden pain shapes every song he writes? Join us as we find out how life has been for Blake Shelton. The shocking truth about Blake's marriage to Gwen Stefani. For years, the world has looked at Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani as the unlikely love story of modern music. A country superstar from Ada, Oklahoma, and a pop-punk icon from Fullerton, California. Coming together felt like destiny. Their romance blossomed in late 2015 on the set of The Voice, where both were reeling from painful divorces. Fans across Nashville, Los Angeles, and beyond rallied behind them, convinced they had found a second chance at happiness. But now, behind the carefully curated Instagram posts and red carpet appearances, whispers from credible outlets like People magazine and TMZ paint a much darker picture. According to multiple industry insiders, Blake and Gwen are no longer sharing the same home full-time. Gwen spends the majority of her weeks in Los Angeles, close to her fashion brand and music commitments, while Blake retreats to his sprawling Oklahoma ranch, a place that has anchored him since childhood. The couple's Enino estate, purchased in 2020 for an astonishing $13 million, was meant to be their middle ground. The modern 5-bedroom mansion boasted a state-of-the-art theater, an expansive pool, and every luxury imaginable. For fans, it symbolized compromise, a place where Gwen's California glamour could meet Blake's country sensibilities. Yet today, that same mansion reportedly stands silent, a shell of what it was meant to represent. To those closest to the couple, it feels less like a home and more like an empty monument to broken promises. At the heart of their growing distance is a clash of worlds. Blake has always craved the quiet, the dirt roads, and the rhythm of ranch life. He often calls Oklahoma his sanctuary, where he can hunt, fish, and write songs in peace. Gwen, on the other hand, thrives in the energy of Los Angeles. She lives for the fast-paced music industry, the fashion spotlight, and the constant creative collaborations that have defined her career since the 90s. What once felt like balance now looks like division, with neither willing to fully surrender their identity. The emotional toll is made heavier by Blake's bond with Gwen's 3 sons, Kingston, Zuma, and Apollo. Since their early days together, Blake has embraced his role as stepfather with a tenderness that surprised many of his fans. He often spoke in interviews about how these boys gave him purpose beyond the stage. A potential split would not just fracture a marriage, it could rip Blake away from the children he loves as though they were his own. For a man who has already endured 2 divorces, that kind of loss would be crushing. The irony cuts deep. In July of 2021, Blake and Gwen exchanged vows in an intimate ceremony at a private chapel Blake built on his ranch. It was his 3rd walk down the aisle, and he hoped it would finally be his forever. Now, with insiders hinting at trial separations and the looming possibility of divorce, that chapel stands as both a sanctuary and a symbol of heartbreak. For Blake Shelton, the shocking truth is that love found in the spotlight can sometimes burn the brightest, yet fade the fastest. And after love's cracks are exposed, the real question remains, can Blake Shelton's fortune save him or destroy him? $150 million fortune that can't buy him happiness. On paper, Blake Shelton is living the American dream. At 49 years old, the Oklahoma native has built a fortune estimated at $150 million. It is the kind of financial success most country artists only dream of. Yet, behind those numbers is a far more painful truth. Money has only amplified Blake's loneliness. Shelton's empire was not built overnight. Since releasing his debut single, Austin, in 2001, he has stacked up more than 30 chart-topping hits, cementing his place as one of Nashville's most bankable stars. His role as a coach on The Voice added another layer to his income, with reliable sources reporting he earned between $13 and $15 million per season during his 23-season run. Add to that endorsement deals with Pepsi, Pizza Hut, and Smith Works Vodka, and a restaurant chain, Olu Red, with locations in Nashville, Orlando, and Tishomingo. And the numbers tell a story of unstoppable success. Yet, those who know Blake best say the money has not delivered what he craves most, lasting peace. His crown jewel remains the sprawling 1,300-acre 10-point ranch in Tishomingo, Oklahoma. Purchased for nearly $15 million, the property includes a Southern-style Victorian mansion, a private chapel, horse barns, and even a barnuminium for guests. To outsiders, it is a symbol of luxury. To Blake, it has become both fortress and prison. Every acre reflects his attempt to build permanence in a life scarred by impermanence, failed marriages, industry pressure, and constant public scrutiny. Nearby sits his Lake Texoma retreat equipped with its own recording studio. Industry insiders whisper that it is here in total isolation where Blake writes some of his most raw emotional material. Songs that fans stream in the millions are often born in solitude, crafted in a space where the laughter of sold-out arenas feels a world away. For him, the studio is therapy, but it is also evidence that even wealth cannot erase pain. His commercial ventures tell a similar story. Ol Red was supposed to connect fans to his authentic small-town roots, blending country music, Southern food, and hospitality. Instead, it has become another branded outpost, a place where authenticity is packaged and sold. Every check that clears, whether from restaurants, vodka sales, or national advertising campaigns, reminds Blake that his personality, once his greatest gift, is now a product. What makes this fortune tragic is not how it was earned, but how it is used. With endless resources, Blake can escape uncomfortable truths by retreating into his properties, shutting out the world while surrounding himself with every luxury imaginable. Instead of confronting heartbreak, abandonment, and the loss that has shadowed his adult life, he builds another house, buys another parcel of land, or launches another business. In Nashville's industry circles, many quietly admit that the money has become his shield, protecting him from others, but also from himself. Blake Shelton's net worth may headline news stories, but beneath the numbers is a haunting irony. His empire has given him freedom, but it has cost him the very connection he longs for. Wealth built walls around him. But what childhood tragedy still echoes through every lyric he sings? Death that still haunts every song he writes. Behind Blake Shelton's signature grin and easygoing country charm is a wound so deep it shaped every note he has ever sung. Long before the stadium tours, before the #1 singles, and before the glimmer of Nashville success, a tragedy in small-town Oklahoma shattered his childhood and left scars he would carry forever. In 1990, when Blake was only 14 years old, his older brother, Richie Shelton, died in a horrific car crash just outside Ada, Oklahoma. Richie was 24, a rising musician himself with dreams of shaping a future in the same industry that would later embrace his younger brother. To Blake, Richie was more than a sibling. He was a mentor, a protector, and the person who first made the idea of music feel possible. Losing him was not just losing family. It was losing his anchor. Friends and neighbors in Ada remember that accident as one of the darkest moments in the Shelton household. Blake's mother, Dorothy, and his father, Richard, leaned on faith and community to cope. But for Blake, the tragedy cut differently. At an age when most boys worry about school dances and Friday night football, he was grappling with mortality. The accident robbed him not only of Richie, but also of a sense of safety and permanence. That grief quickly bled into his art. By 12, Blake had already been playing guitar under the guidance of his uncle, Ronnie Millsap. And after Richie's passing, the instrument became his lifeline. He threw himself into songwriting, scribbling lyrics that classmates at Ada High School never saw, pouring out emotions too heavy for conversation. By 15, he was competing in local talent contests, his voice carrying a pain that judges couldn't ignore. What seemed like an early ambition was really survival, a way to keep Richie alive through music. Years later, in 2001, when Blake released his debut single, Austin, fans heard a heartfelt ballad of love and loss. But those close to him knew the roots of his vulnerability stretched back to 1990. Perhaps the most striking tribute came in 2012 when he co-wrote Over You with then-wife Miranda Lambert. The song, inspired by Richie, became an anthem of raw grief, resonating with millions and winning Song of the Year at the Country Music Association Awards. For Blake, it was more than a hit. It was Richie's voice echoing through him, finally reaching the masses. Yet, for all the success that loss has fueled, insiders say it also shaped Blake's struggles in love. The emotional blueprint Richie's death created left him constantly chasing connection, but equally convinced that loss is inevitable. Fans see a charismatic coach on The Voice, a man with jokes always at the ready. But behind that stage persona is still the 14-year-old who lost his brother on an Oklahoma road. The cruel irony of Blake Shelton's career is that Richie's death gave him the depth, authenticity, and pain that fuel his songwriting and connect him to millions of fans worldwide. At 49, he remains one of country music's biggest stars. But beneath the wealth and fame, he is still singing the filet silence left 3 decades ago. Like his brother's loss. Why do Blake Shelton's marriages always collapse in the same heartbreaking way? Blake's 3 marriage failures follow the exact same heartbreaking pattern. Blake Shelton's romantic life has never been about random heartbreaks. Each of his 3 major marriages unfolded like a haunting replay of the same painful script. Initial bliss, deep connection, and then the inevitable collapse. Psychologists call it unresolved trauma. Fans see it as a tragic cycle. In 2003, Blake married his high school sweetheart, Ket Williams, in a small ceremony back home in Oklahoma. She had known him long before the bright lights of Nashville, and for a while their love seemed unshakable. Ket represented stability, the kind of grounding he craved after years of grief and emotional turbulence. Yet, as Blake's career skyrocketed with chart-topping singles like Austin and Some Beach, the very fame that secured his future destroyed their intimacy. Constant touring, long studio sessions, and the demands of a rising star pulled him away. By 2006, the couple divorced, marking the first time Blake saw his private life crumble under the weight of his public success. 5 years later, in 2011, Blake exchanged